Hi everyone. I want to share a short Hanukkah thought that I heard many years ago from Rabbi Isaac Bernstein, Zichrono Livracha, which reframed the holiday for me in a way that feels increasingly relevant today. It begins with something very subtle that you might miss it completely. Throughout Hanukkah, we recite a special tefillah both during Shmona Esrei and Birkat Hamazon. Al Hanisim is a declaration of thanks to Hashem for the great miracles he performed to save us. This particular tefillah is said both on Hanukkah and Purim and is inserted in Shmona Esrei in the section following Modim, which is likewise focused on our thanks to God. The tefillah continues with Bimei Matityahu, a special paragraph describing the specific nature of the miracle of Hanukkah. If you were to read the words of Bimei Matityahu carefully, you can notice something interesting. Many school-age children can quickly tell you who the heroes and villains are for each of our holidays. They know that Antiochus made the evil decrees that the Jews of his time could not practice mitzvot, and they know that the Maccabim came to defend and return holiness to the Beit HaMikdash. And yet, this is not made explicit in the recounting. Giborim bi'ad chalashim, the mighty in hands of the weak. Rabim be'ad me'atim, the many in hands of the few. Rishayim bi'ad tzadikim, the wicked in the hands of the righteous. Utmeim bi'ad tehorim, the impure in the hands of the pure. What is obviously missing from this list? HaYehudim nitzchu et HaYevanim, the Jews defeated the Greeks. The fact that we never directly say this is in fact an omission that teaches us something critical about the holiday. Not an accident. This may in fact be the most critical message of Hanukkah. In an effort to recount the life-saving battles the Maccabim encountered, the text of Al Hanisim uses language to evoke the more spiritual nature of the victories that took place. Mighty in hands of the weak, many in hands of the few, wicked in hands of the righteous, impure in the hands of the pure. Even though we do know this was a great military battle, none of these are military descriptions. In fact, they describe moral descriptions. They each describe a spiritual condition. The Anshe Knesset HaGedola, who crafted this tefillah, made a deliberate choice. Instead of having Hanukkah be primarily remembered as a political victory alone, it is noted as a spiritual one. The Maharal of Prague explains that the Greeks were not fighting the Jews for their land, but that they were fighting Torah at its root. This is why we know they targeted Shmirat Shabbat, Brit Milah, and Rosh Chodesh, for example. Each one of these mitzvot proclaims that Jewish life is not only governed by human power alone, but by divine intervention. Hanukkah, he says, is a war over what defines reality itself. Had the text simply said the Yehudim or Maccabim defeated the Yevanim, this would cement our memory of a heroic military chapter. Instead, it becomes an eternal statement about our Jewish faith prevailing over external force. Now, let's focus again on one of the most important lines, Tmeim biyad tehorim, impure in hands of the pure. The Ramban explains there's another layer here. The collapse of the Jewish people at this time began not with external armies, but with their cultural infiltration. This means the deepest battle of Hanukkah was not only on the battlefield, it was inside the Jewish people. Perhaps it wasn't really about the Maccabim or the Jews against the Greeks at all, but rather an internal civil battle between those who sought to maintain their commitment to their Judaism and those who were willing to forsake it to live the modern life as Greeks alone. The Gemara in Shabbos Chaf Aleph Bet teaches us, "Shechnichnesu Yevanim leheichal tim'u kol hashmanim v'lo matzau ela pach echad shel shemen." When the Greeks entered the temple, they defiled all the oil except for one small sealed jug. This oil we speak of was not just fuel for the menorah. It was a symbol of how critical it was to have a religious identity that remained pure and untouched. A small group, one sealed point of loyalty, a light that should never have been able to last, and yet it carried us into our future. Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch teaches us that the greatest danger to Judaism is not external oppression, but rather internal imitation. Not pressure from the outside, but a quiet erosion from within. Hanukkah is not meant to reject culture outside, but it draws a boundary. While we live in a modern world, the world does not define who we are as Jews. And that's why the prayer never says directly, the Yehudim defeated the Yevanim. Because Hanukkah is not only a celebration of military power, it's a celebration of our internal spiritual victory and of our sustained religious identity. Of the pure who refused to surrender, of a tiny flame that would not go out, and somehow this is what lit up everything. Chag Sameach.